Hello again. Welcome to part 2 of the Black V neck sweater. Before you continue in this video, if you haven't seen part 1, make sure to go check that out first and then come back to this video. That way a lot of things that I'm talking about and showing make sense. But if you have watched part 1, then welcome to part 2, where we are now finally at the ribbing of the body of the sweater. This sweater has worked up fairly quickly because it's a worsted weight yarn. I just haven't really been dedicating every moment of my time to it as I usually do. It's looking good so far. All right, here she is. This is the base of the sweater at the length it recommended in the pattern, which was 9.5 inches or 23.5 centimeters in length from the underarm hole to the body of the sweater. Now comes the fun part, which is the twisted rib section of the sweater. It doesn't look like it's very long, but I promise you it is. It's just kind of scrunched up on the needles at the moment, so it's a bit deceiving. But whenever I put the barber cord stitch holder on and then try it on, it's way longer than it looks. Plus, when I wash and block it, it's gonna grow some in measurement, so it's not gonna be super like tight or anything. It's already a pretty loose sweater, but that's what it's intended. It's supposed to have a lot of positive ease. So that's the front, and this is the back, which there's nothing exciting about the back. And then there's an armhole and another armhole. I will be adding the ribbing to the neck at some point, so this is not complete yet in the middle, and then it will bring it closer to the neck area on the body. I'm going to start working on the ribbing now, since I'm finally through the body length of stockinette stitching, and I will show a couple shots of me knitting along the way, and then I will check in with you when I'm ready to get started on a sleeve or maybe the neckline. We'll see. All right, she's almost done. And the reason I don't want to say she's completely finished yet is because I need to do a couple of tweaks on her before I can say she's finished completely. So for the most part, she is done, meaning that she's off the needles. I have washed her and blocked her and have tried it on. However, the few little things I need to tweak is the neckline and the cuffs are either too wide in the neck, so they're kind of on the shoulder tips, and the cuffs of the sweater or the sleeves are longer than my fingertips. That is not how she was before I washed and blocked her, so she grew way more than I expected. I thought maybe it would have grown about an inch in all the lengths, but she grew probably about 2 or 3 inches. I knitted her all the way to the measurements that the pattern said as I was going, and I will say the body length turned out really great. I have no complaints about the body length. It's a lot longer than I thought it was going to be, because when I tried her on before I washed and blocked her, she was just meeting the edge of my jeans, and my jeans are high waist, but they're kind of there a little bit with the high waist part. So I was hoping that that part would have grown. The sleeves, I didn't anticipate growing so long, because for that size sweater, I knitted the sleeves exactly to where the pattern said. I measured over and over to make sure. And I even stopped earlier than it told me to. I was like, this cuff, the twisted rib cuff was like really long. And I'm like, I need to cut it back some. I just didn't expect the sleeves to be past my fingertips. And I have long arms already as it is. I'm 5'6", which isn't super tall, but I'm very like long and lengthy in my body build. So if those sleeves are long for me, they're going to be long for the person I made this for. 2 options that I'm considering to tweak on the sweater a little bit before I send it off. My first option is using some elastic thread. I have black elastic thread, so it'll blend in very easily to the sweater. And I was thinking about either crocheting or threading with a darning needle through the ends and the mids of the cuffs to make sure it keeps that structure over time, and to kind of give it a little bit of tightness to maybe pull it back some on the length, especially if she wants to like raise the sleeves up on her arms. I tried and tested the rolling of the sleeves, and unfortunately they kind of fall back down, so there's like no structure or elasticity in the sleeves. And then I was going to put elastic thread through the edging of the neckline to see if it kind of tightens up the neckline a little more, so it doesn't have the tendency to fall off the shoulders as easily. So that's the first option. The second option that I'm going to go with, if the elastic doesn't work, is basically frogging back the sleeves to a certain point and re-knitting them shorter. And also on the neckline, maybe just adding another inch to kind of bring it closer to the neck. And then when I'm done with that, if I do that option, I'm going to still add the elastic back anyways, because that does still help with the structure of the sweater to make sure that it doesn't loosen over time, and she doesn't have to worry about sending it back to me later to add that. I can just go ahead and do it before I mail it to her. Those are my 2 options I'm going to work with. I'm going to try to work on that sometime today before the day's over with, because I want to see how long it takes me, and then I will check back in with you on my progress. All right, now I can say she's finally finished. And it is the same day as earlier when I was talking about fixing the looseness of the sweater. So I ended up only having to go with the first option, which was adding the elastic thread. As you can see, the sleeve is staying in place on my arm because I have added elastic here and at the beginning of the ribbing section. And then I added elastic just here at the edge of the neckline. Before the neckline, the edge of it was coming out to here, where the beginning of the ribbing started, and it was like going off the shoulder. That was not the look I was going for. So now with this elastic, it's tightening up and bringing the sweater more inward, so that way it stays in place when she's wearing it. I will say that this is a very warm sweater. I've only had it on less than 10 minutes, and I'm literally beading up sweat on my forehead. Obviously, this is not the time of year to wear this, so I'm doing this for the sake of the video and finally completing part 2 of this black v-neck sweater after 6 long months. Again, this is not really that long of a project. It's just my ability to knit on it and dedicate my time to it was the problem. So if you are interested in knitting the sweater yourself, I will link the pattern below. I believe I linked it in part 1 as well. And I will also link the yarn that I use, which is We Are Knitters alpaca wool. So if you're interested in making the same sweater, you can. Thank you guys for tagging along with me on this journey for knitting this sweater, and I will see y'all in the next video. Please make sure you subscribe and like.